History doesn't pause for pity. It won't wait for applause or offer mercy when a man chooses wrong. All it gives is silence. A slow unraveling. And by the time most men realize the mistake they made, they're already attending the funeral of their own potential. Not because they were weak, but because they opened the gates of their life to the wrong woman, and didn't realize she was carrying a match. Nobody warns you. Your mom won't. Your boys can't. And society, it profits off your blindness. But Machiavelli, he saw it. He knew that the fall of powerful men wasn't always fate. Most of the time, it was a choice. A seductive choice. A beautiful mistake wrapped in softness and smiles. While today's culture is busy selling you stories about romance, about ride-or-die loyalty, about unconditional love, Machiavelli was out here telling the truth. The raw, uncomfortable truth. He said, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Translation. Most people only see what seems to be real. Very few look deeper. Most men are ruled by appearance. But the wise man, he sees beyond the surface, beyond the charm, beyond the performance. He watches how she moves when no one's watching. He pays attention not just to how she talks about love, but how she lives when love isn't easy. Because here's the first brutal truth. There are only two kinds of women. Beneficial or destructive. That's it. There's no in-between. No, she's figuring it out. No, it's complicated. She either adds value to your life, or slowly drains it. Subtly. Completely. And here's the twist. Today's world has taught women how to look beneficial while living parasitically. It's an art. They'll smile as they sabotage you, compliment your ambition while quietly derailing your direction. And if you don't have clarity, if you're not sovereign, you'll call it love. But it's not. It's a slow bleed, wrapped in affection. This video isn't about hating women. It's about strategy. Because if you don't become ruthless in who you let in, you'll spend years bleeding out and calling it commitment. Machiavelli warned us, he who seeks to deceive will always find someone willing to be deceived. If you're choosing based on beauty alone, you've already lost. You just haven't felt the consequences yet. The real danger isn't her. It's your failure to see clearly. Because beauty blinds the undisciplined man. And in a world that trains you to worship how she looks and ignore who she is, it's no wonder so many men fall. They chase what looks right, and walk past what is right. But Machiavelli wasn't writing for romantics. He was writing for rulers. And rulers, they don't let the gates of their kingdom be stormed by emotion dressed up as opportunity. Here's what a destructive woman looks like. She doesn't yell. She doesn't fight you directly. She just distracts you from your path, your purpose, your discipline. She makes you explain your fire. She calls your consistency too much. She questions your structure. And before you know it, you've traded your crown for her comfort. A wise man sees through it. He doesn't ask, is she beautiful? He asks, can she walk beside my vision without trying to control it? That's the real question. And most men don't ask it until their empire's already in ruins. Here's your next law. Never choose a woman who disrespects masculine authority. It doesn't matter how sweet her voice gets when she wants something. It doesn't matter how gorgeous she looks in that dress. If she competes with your leadership instead of aligning with it, you walk. If she challenges your direction without wisdom, you leave. If she treats your strength like it's something to conquer instead of something to trust, she is not your woman. She's a storm wearing perfume. Machiavelli understood power. He knew that if you don't protect it, you'll become a slave to the very force you thought you could tame. You think you can handle her chaos. You think you can talk your way into respect. You think love will fix it. It won't. Because the second you choose her, the second you let her in, she holds the power you handed over. You gift-wrapped it in pretty words. Compromise. Partnership. Understanding. But what Machiavelli taught what modern men have forgotten, is this. It is far safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. And before you get it twisted, this isn't about being cruel. It's about being respected. A man who cannot command his woman's respect will never keep her loyalty. Let me say that again. A woman will test your limits just to find out if you have any. And when she realizes you don't, when she sees that you fold, that you bend, that you beg, she won't walk away. She'll stay just long enough to ruin you. And when the damage is done, she'll look you in the eye and say, "You've changed." No, you collapsed. And she watched it happen. Modern men are taught to soften everything. To be gentle, to be endlessly flexible, to make every decision a group discussion. We're told that leadership means asking permission, that masculinity must always be kind. But Machiavelli warned what happens when power is diluted. It disappears. The moment you start negotiating your authority, you've already surrendered it. And here's the thing. She won't say anything out loud. She might even smile. But deep down, she'll know. You don't stand for anything. And once she knows that your spine bends for her comfort, she'll lose every ounce of desire to walk beside you. Even the most independent, modern woman instinctively wants to follow a man she can't move. That doesn't mean being unkind. It means being clear. Clear in your vision. Clear in your expectations. Clear in your boundaries. Because if she can shake you with tears, if she can guilt you into submission, if she can talk her way out of your standards, you're not her man. You're her project, her puppet, her placeholder until a man with a backbone shows up. You don't earn loyalty with love. You earn it by becoming a man who can't be manipulated. Now here's the third law. Watch how she handles boredom. Any woman can be sweet when she's getting gifts, attention, and excitement. But what happens when life gets quiet? What does she do when things get still? That's when you find out who she really is. Because a woman who needs chaos just to feel alive will blow up your entire future the moment it demands consistency or patience. You want a woman who brings peace, not one who burns your world down just because she's bored. And now the price is clear. It's your peace, your momentum, your vision, slowly stolen in exchange for temporary comfort. And the most tragic part, you handed it over willingly because you confused loyalty with purpose. But loyalty to the wrong person isn't noble, it's self-destruction. There's a difference between being patient and being passive, between being devoted and being delusional. A man must know when he's building with someone, and when he's simply being bled dry. Machiavelli didn't warn rulers about betrayal just for dramatic effect. He did it because betrayal always starts small. A dismissed standard, a tolerated insult, a compromise that felt harmless. But piece by piece, you lose your structure until the house you built for legacy becomes a prison for your potential. That's the hidden cost, not just the relationship, but who you become inside of it. Because when you keep choosing comfort over truth, silence over standards, peace over purpose, you're not preserving the bond. You're erasing yourself. Here's your next commandment. Never choose a woman who demands a softened version of you. If you have to shrink to fit, dim your light to keep her close, or twist your values just to avoid conflict, she's not your partner. She's your prison warden. A good woman doesn't just accept your edge, she sharpens it. She doesn't pull you away from your mission, she pushes you deeper into it. And she doesn't fear your power, she respects it, because she knows it protects her too. But a woman who needs to tame you to love you will never allow you to lead. She will praise your potential while quietly trying to neutralize it. She'll applaud your vision until it requires sacrifice. And then she'll call you selfish for chasing it. Machiavelli saw this clearly. Men rise and fall not by chance, but by choice. The man who chooses poorly invites chaos into his life, dressed as charm. She doesn't have to sabotage you directly, she just needs to keep you distracted, keep you doubting, keep you drained. And you'll keep calling it love. You'll tell yourself she's just emotional, that all relationships are hard, that You're being tested. But you're not being tested, you're being trained to tolerate what you should be walking away from. Let me ask you a brutal question. Who are you becoming because of her? If the answer is softer, slower, less disciplined, more distracted, wake up. Because the wrong woman won't just waste your time, she'll rewrite your identity. Now let's talk about legacy. Your legacy is not what you leave behind after death, it's what you build while you're alive. It's the daily standard you live by. And the truth is, the wrong woman doesn't have to destroy your legacy with scandal. All she has to do is delay it long enough for you to forget it. Time is the one currency you never get back. Every argument that leads nowhere, every emotional spiral, every weekend wasted in recovery from her mood swings, that's your legacy slipping through your fingers. Quietly, permanently. Machiavelli wrote for rulers, and rulers understand this. Time is power. And a man who gives his time to a woman who multiplies chaos is not romantic. He's reckless. Another truth no one tells men: not every beautiful woman deserves access to your kingdom. Just because she turns heads doesn't mean she deserves a seat at your table. Just because she touches your body doesn't mean she gets to influence your mind. The modern man has been trained to confuse attention with affection, validation with value. So when a woman flatters him, he calls it fate. When she disrespects him, he calls it just a phase. When she drains him, he calls it love. But you don't need love that feels like survival. You don't need loyalty that comes at the cost of your self-respect. You need a partner who protects your standards, not a siren who seduces you into silence. Here's the fifth law: the wrong woman will cost you more than you can calculate. Not all at once. Gradually. Consistently. She'll cost you momentum, focus, confidence, friendships, finances, health, and most of all, time. Because every moment spent healing from her chaos is a moment stolen from your mission. And she won't feel guilty. Not because she's heartless, but because you trained her not to be. You taught her that your standards are flexible, that your boundaries are negotiable, that your love is unconditional even when it's undeserved. Machiavelli said it best: men are driven by two forces, fear and love. But if you must choose, choose fear. Why? Because fear guards the gate. Love opens it. And the undisciplined man opens the gate too soon. He lets her in based on potential. He ignores her past. He believes her words instead of watching her ways. Let's be clear, her patterns are her prophecy. If she's left a trail of broken relationships, chaos, and betrayal, don't flatter yourself into thinking you'll be the exception. You won't. You'll just be next. And the most dangerous thought a man can have is, "But I can handle it." No, you can't. Because it's not about how much dysfunction you can tolerate, it's about how much purpose you're sacrificing to do it. You're not a rehab center. You're not a redemption arc. You're a builder. And the wrong woman will have you reconstructing the same broken foundation over and over until you forget you were ever meant to build something more. So here's a question you must ask every time before you let a woman into your life. Does she make me sharper or softer? Not sweeter. Not more emotionally expressive. Sharper. More disciplined. More focused. More rooted in your code. Because the right woman is not a distraction from your purpose. She's a mirror for it. She reflects what you stand for, not what you'll bend for. And if you have to convince yourself she's good for you, she's not. You'll know it's wrong when your mind is louder than your peace. When your gut is screaming while your mouth is still saying, "I love you." When you're spending more time trying to manage the relationship than you are building your future. Machiavelli would say this is where weak princes fall, at the feet of what looks good, while overlooking what is good. But you are not here to fall. You are here to rise. The final truth in this section is simple. A woman who cannot thrive in silence will destroy you in chaos. If she needs constant attention, drama, entertainment, if she creates storms just to feel something, she will never let you build in peace. But a woman who multiplies peace when the world gets loud? She's rare. She's valuable. And she's not found by men who chase beauty. She's discovered by men who stand in clarity. Clarity of purpose. clarity of boundaries, clarity of self. Because when you know who you are, you stop negotiating your standards to keep someone who was never meant to stay. You were sent here to build something sacred, something eternal. And a woman who cannot respect that calling is not a partner, she's a parasite. Sounds harsh? That's because truth is sharp. It cuts away the illusions we protect out of fear. And the deepest fear in most men is this: if I let her go, I'll be alone. But let me ask you something even harsher. What if the man you're supposed to become is waiting on the other side of her absence? Machiavelli warned us, it is better to be alone than in bad company. Because bad company doesn't just hold you back, it pulls you under. She might love you, but love without alignment is a leash. And when your spirit is leashed, your mission becomes a memory. You didn't come here to orbit her emotions. You came here to master your own, to build, to lead, to leave something behind that outlives your name. But how can you do that when you're constantly recovering from emotional warfare? There's no honor in enduring dysfunction, no badge of masculinity in surviving her storms. The real strength is in restraint, the power to walk away from what disrespects your peace. Because peace is not passive. It's aggressive in its discipline. It demands you protected with boundaries, with clarity, with consequences. And here's the brutal truth. The man who lacks boundaries will attract a woman who thrives on violating them. She will test you, not once, but endlessly. She will escalate until your silence becomes permission. And when you finally snap, she'll call you unstable. Machiavelli would call this spiritual warfare, not because it's mystical, but because it's invisible. You won't see the chains being wrapped around you until it's too late, until your fire is dim, your focus is scattered, your power feels foreign. So here's the commandment for men who want to build. Choose alignment over attachment. Because attachment will have you chasing potential, but alignment will reveal truth. The truth that she's not your enemy, she's your mirror. She reflects what you tolerate. She reflects the gaps in your self-worth. She reflects your unfinished healing. And that's the hardest part to admit. You didn't just attract her. You allowed her. Every time you stayed after the lie. Every time you smiled through the disrespect. Every time you broke your code just to keep her close. But now you see it. And when a man truly sees, he cannot unsee. That's where the rebirth begins. Machiavelli's legacy wasn't just in lyrics, it was in law. And one of his final laws was this: a man who doesn't know who he is will always be conquered by who she needs him to be. But you're not here to be conquered. You're here to become a kingdom. And no kingdom is ruled by chaos. No king bows to confusion. He chooses peace, not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. So, choose her carefully. Not just with your eyes. Not just with your desire. But with your standards. With your vision. With your legacy. Because the wrong woman won't just break your heart. She'll break your focus. And when a man loses focus, he loses everything.